evening. I'm Jackie Ryle. Welcome to the Munro Review, where it's all about connecting, sharing, and valuing the arts in the central San Joaquin Valley. Filling in for Donald Munro this evening while he's off great places. It's May 30th, and we're going to be talking about the busy arts scene in June. On today's show, we check in with noted Fresno artist Dal Henderson and gallery owner Bruce Kalkowski, who has the 1821 Gallery and Studios, and Dal has a new exhibition there in 1821. But first, let's recap some of what Donald has been covering on the Munro.com, MunroReview.com, Donald's website. We're in the middle of New Wrinkles season, and Donald writes that it is a very fine show this year. This latest installment is called California Dreamin', and it's chock full of numbers celebrating the Golden State. If you've never been to a New Wrinkles before, it is not the same sort of mediocre garden variety, senior variety show you may have seen somewhere. This production features top-notch talent. It has some of the finest vocals Donald has ever heard in a New Wrinkles show, and the dancing is great as well. These seasoned entertainers have impressive showbiz chops, and if you haven't been to a production in a few years, you will be astonished at how sharp it looks. Using sophisticated digital projection, an abundance of video, and superb lighting design, the production has a professional sheen. Congratulations to director David Bonetto, his talented cast of more than 40 superb seniors, and also to the creative team. California Dreamin' runs through June 9th. There were lots of theater reviews on MunroReview.com in May. These include Donald's take on Fresno State's big musical, Carmen Jones, which he was disappointed in overall, and Selma Art Center's Wait Until Dark, which had some flaws but also some very good acting. You'll find a third of a review for Woodland Shakespeare Festival's Comedy of Errors, the show that had to be called after half an hour because of a thunderstorm. Also covered was Near Far Theater's thoughtful The Sins of Sor Guajara and the hypo-theatrical's zany production of The Government Inspector. Still playing is Good Company Players' very fine Brighton Beach memoirs, and the explosively appealing Newsies, a local premiere. How busy was May? Donald's fingers were sore from all the typing. Classical music fans got a fascinating interview with Swiss pianist Francisco Piemontesi. There's a review of Fresno Master Chorale's St. John's Passion, and there was news to the reported to Central State Clovis Community Theater had to cancel its production of Matilda because not enough males showed up to audition. This created a stir in the theater community, and of course, the big news is that the musical Hamilton is coming to Fresno in 2020 or 2021. We don't know which quite when. So we're going to need to, hang on a second, thank you. We're going to need to subscribe to both the 2019-2020 season and the 2021 season in order to get the chance to buy Hamilton tickets, a show to be seen. Now let's welcome our first guest, our guest this evening. We've got Dal Henderson, who is a longtime local artist with compelling show at 1821 Gallery and Studios, and Bruce Kalkowski, who owns Gallery 1821. Gentlemen, thanks for being here this evening. Nice to have you here. I would like to start by asking you about the studio, if you would. Bruce, you formed Gallery 1821 and Studio. Talk about that a little bit. How did you come about doing that?
Well, it's been 7 years this April. I came about it actually pretty pragmatically. My son was running the warehouse and business changed. So I had a 5,000 square foot building, and I could either get 30 cents a square foot for a warehouse, but Reza Semi had a waiting list for studios down at Broadway, and he was getting $1 a square foot. So it didn't take too much of a leap to figure out which path might be the one to take. So I did that, but people say, oh, you must have such a passion for the arts to do this. And I did have a passion, but I have a greater passion now, having done it this long, realizing how invested the artists are in their work, what genuine and unique and authentic statements they're making and how serious they are about that work. I had no idea what the responsibility a gallerist had to an artist. I had no idea what a struggle it is for them to get shown anywhere, and for them to get a show, you know, it's a big deal. And so then I began to take the responsibility very seriously. And fortunately, I've had a deep well to draw from of artists in this area, you know, and we have incredible talent here. And so I was able to curate and organize the shows with just setting the highest standard I could. And having continued doing that, you know, the bar has been set, which makes it even more responsibility to put on the exhibitions that measure up to the last ones.
You do,
So,
and we have some of that incredible talent here in the room. Dal Henderson, thank you for being here. I'd like to, a couple of things. Talk, if you would, about your world of art. I understand you've been an artist since a young kid and stayed with you.
Been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
Was interested as a young person in elementary school, drawing and doodling, and probably not paying attention in class, more interested in making marks on a paper. It was always a good way to pass time when it got boring. But I didn't really take it seriously until I was probably in high school, and there was a big thing happening in the art scene with a guy named Jackson Pollock in the 50s, who kind of just changed the sense of contemporary art. And I really appreciated the idea that, you know, you didn't necessarily have to be this refined draftsman in order to be, you know, a good artist. Because I enjoyed paint. I enjoyed moving paint around. And so he kind of opened the door. You know, there's a lot of Pollock's work that I don't care about, but I think it's more about the idea and the attitude, which really opened the door for me to be free and to take chances. And I think that was sort of the impetus for my moving forward in the art world. And so that's kind of where it began.
And so bringing it kind of to now, maybe say something about exhibiting in Gallery 1821.
Well, I really enjoy having the access to a space in this town, which I think suffers from the lack, and I don't want to be negative about it, but I think there's, with a town the size of Fresno, the fact that there is so little, few places to exhibit work, and places that are actually open as a business.
Yes.
And that's what a gallery is about. It's not just the weekend, you know, it's during the week. It's being there as a business and operating as a real, you know, place for people to go and to see work. And Bruce actually offers that, and I think that's really important to the community.
It is. And so you also, now you have a studio at your home.
I do.
Which is also available for the public to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's if somebody calls me and wants to come over and look at my work and hang out, they're certainly welcome. Yeah.
I'd like to do a couple of things. If you would you mind giving out your number? If people can give you a call?
Well, it would be best if they...
What's the best?
It would be best if they looked me up on Google or something, and then my number's there.
Oh, very good.
If you're serious about it.
If they Google you,
if they Google me, they can find out where I am.
How about the location and the hours for 1821, Bruce?
Well, we're down in what I refer to as the Cultural Arts District.
Right.
It's also called the Mural District by other people, so we have an identity crisis right there. But we're in the heart of the Cultural Arts District, just up the street from this building, there on Calaveras and Van Ness. We're at Calaveras between Broadway and H Street.
Right. And hours?
Hours are Wednesday through Friday, 11 to 4:30, and Saturdays 12 to 4.
Great. And so the public can come in. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
really important. The
you know, I
point
get a
that
lot
you
of calls that people want to know how much it costs to come see it. A lot of students, you know, they're given an assignment by their teacher to visit a gallery, and that's a challenge for them. to find a gallery.
Right.
So I can always tell it's a student calling because they want to know what the admission is to get in. You know.
And there is no admission.
It's free to the public.
Really important.
Yeah.
So we have some of your wonderful work here, Dal, this evening, and we've got just a little bit of time left in this segment. We've got another segment to talk about. So talk a little bit about your work. You go back and forth between photoshopping and painting, and what's it like to do that? You know, some of your work is considered abstract. Talk about being in those worlds of.
Well, I basically consider myself to be a non-objective painter, because abstract painting is really, an abstraction is usually the change of some recognizable imagery.
Right.
In other words, something that you know, it would be a person that would be abstracted, you know,
Yeah.
but you can still tell that that's what's going on there. A lot of my work, and most of my work, but not all of it, tends to be more about color and shape and design and that sort of thing. And so the images are whatever you want to bring to it, but it's really about kind of mixing up materials and trying to find something that's kind of unfamiliar in a way, because I'm always looking for things that I don't know rather than things that I know. And I think that's always been the interest for me in making art, is that, you know, I don't want to just copy something. The camera does a great job at doing that.
Yeah.
And when the camera came into being, it really changed the art scene.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's, you know, like the materials and trying to make something happen with paint and.
What kind of materials do you typically use?
Well, mostly I paint on canvas.
Yes,
And I use acrylic,
with acrylic
primarily, but sometimes I use enamels and spray paints, graphite, whatever I just sort of feel like I can, you know, try to integrate into the work. And then I use Photoshop a lot to make prints. So I'm working back and forth with the digital process, which is, you know, really fascinating to me, because I mean, in the world of movie making now, CGI and all that, I mean, it's just amazing what you can do with a computer.
Yeah.
And in some ways I'm kind of a Luddite, but I can manipulate information with Photoshop, and I can design and draw on a tablet and create, you know, work. And I can use the Photoshop or the camera to take a picture of my painting and then use Photoshop as a way of adjusting things or making it possible for me to move forward when I have a moment of.
Yes, an aha. We have got some of your wonderful work here. We're going to talk about this in the second segment. We are going to take a brief break right now. When we return, we'll be able to see some of Dal Henderson's work and have him talk about that work. So stay with us, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the Munro Review. Again, we've got Dal Henderson and Bruce Kalkowski here this evening. Bruce is the owner of Gallery 1821 Gallery and Studio, and Dal Henderson is a local, well-known and fine artist. So, Dal, you're up. We've got several of your pieces here, and would love it if you would focus on, let's start there, and talk about that piece of work, if you would.
Well, this is a small painting on canvas with acrylic and some graphite, and it's a car, as you can well see, and it was just an image that I always drew when I was a little kid, and I just kind of liked that kind of cartoon car, and I was just kind of struggling one day to make a painting, and this thing is just sort of an extra piece that sort of happened, and I had this painting on the bottom, and it was kind of empty on the top, and so I thought, well, I'll just make the car go in the opposite direction, and so that's, you know,
so Dal,
that's what happened.
it reminds me of both a contemporary and a vintage car.
Yeah, it's just kind of cartoonish.
A little bit.
Ha, cartoonish. I don't know.
Oh, I like it.
So,
Thank you.
anyway.
Oh, I might have missed that. Thank you.
Anyway, it's just a fun, a little kind of fun thing that happened. This is a painting, and this painting here are part of a series that I call my Dirty Whites, which is the title of my show at the gallery.
Oh, could you explain that? The Dirty Whites title.
Yeah, the Dirty Whites. It just came to me when I was working on a series of paintings that had a lot of white paint, and the color gets, sometimes it's kind of muddy and there's some scratches, and I just thought, well, that was kind of an appropriate thing. And then I liked the idea that, what does that mean to people? I don't know. You can take it where you want to. But that was the basis of a series of paintings that have a lot of white in them. And it's just, this brush stroke kind of shape, and it's just a very kind of simple thing that happened in the studio, and I don't, it is what it is. This piece here, how do I describe this?
How do you describe this?
It's got a lot of texture to it.
Yes. Have you built up paint? Is that
there's a
what's
lot
happening
of paint.
Uh-huh.
I use a lot of paint. Lots of layers in my paintings. I'm all about a lot of paint and taking away paint, and putting paint down and taking it away, and so. How
are those line effects? I mean, they're to me.
It's dissimilar material, and it just sort of separates it. As it dries, it cracks.
Can you say what the material is?
This is it's all acrylic.
It's all acrylic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what do you call this one?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Are these all from the exhibit that
yes,
are at 1821 right now? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an example of the digital material that I work with in Photoshop. So this is a print. It's an edition of 5. It's an homage to Frank Stella, and this shape in the center is actually a copy of a Frank Stella painting.
So you started there, and then what happened?
And then I started drawing all around it. I had
Yes.
that image, and I just started, making these lines and just kind of mucking it up a little bit, I guess.
Is that pencil?
Well, it's not. This is all a print, so it's.
But when you started drawing,
it's just the line. I create the color that I want in Photoshop,
Right.
and have a tablet, and I just.
Oh,
just
this is with
draw.
a stylus. You've
Right,
done this.
right.
Oh,
So that's-
how fun!
So that's how that.
So
happened.
as you're doing it, is it like spontaneous?
Yeah, it's pretty spontaneous. I mean, I work sometimes very quickly, and try to let things happen, pretty rapidly. And then I have to pull back and decide whether I made a mistake. And with a computer, you can erase real
Yeah,
easily. It's a
yeah,
whole different
yeah,
kind of deal. With paint, you make a mark and it's there, or you can cover it up, that's kind of the way that goes.
Yeah.
So.
These are wonderful. These are very exciting. So Bruce, you curate the shows yourself, right? And so talk about what it's like to curate a show like this. Any show, but this show particularly.
The curate, I work really well with the artists, and so what we do, we bring in. It's a greatest day of my month. Is all the work shows up and it's scattered all over the floor, and you're pulling your hair. Well,
oh, you already did that.
If you had hair, you'd be pulling it out, trying to figure out how are we going to make all this make sense.
Yeah.
And then it's like after a while, you move one here, and you go, that one doesn't work with that one, and then it's like they start, melding and talking to each other, and this feels right, that doesn't feel right.
Is the artist with you while you're doing that, or do you do this on your own?
Most of the time, the artists are with me, but it's sometimes better if they're not, because they have an idea of how they want it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But not okay sometimes. I wanted to comment a little bit, though,
please,
on Dal's technique.
Yes.
Because all the artists are impressed with his work because of his technique. They don't know how he gets that finish.
So what I was asking.
It's a soft, almost porcelain look.
Yeah.
And then it's as if he rubs through one layer of paint, especially on the little card. I mean, even though they're cards, there's a lot of very sophisticated technique goes into it to get that little scuff mark.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly smooth, just like a dull, soft porcelain.
We'll never know because we can't touch it. I'm always so tempted, but I know better. You can't touch it.
I get to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you do, huh? Well, so you get to do this, and
the full title of this show is "Dirty Whites and Old Friends."
Okay.
So we have some pieces that are older, and we have some that are brand new this year.
Yes.
So we've got brand new paintings. We have prints that are older. We have some silkscreen work. It's really cool. We have prints that are very reasonably priced. We have all the way up to the large originals. So there's really something for everybody at the show.
Yeah. And so this show, this celebrates Art Hop, June Art Hop, and it goes through how long?
The end of the month.
The end of June?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So folks can come during the week. I mean, it's not just, you go back to mention your hours at the gallery again.
Wednesday through Friday, 11 to 4:30, and Saturdays, 12 to 4.
At 1821?
1821 Gallery on 1821 Calaveras. Yeah. And I felt, everybody talks about Fresno's vibrant art scene.
Yes.
And you come on Art Hop and you see a vibrant art scene.
Yes.
And you come on Friday and it's a wasteland.
Yes.
There's nothing open.
Yes. That's why it's good that you're there and you're open.
And people come from out of town.
Yeah.
And they are glad, to have found it. I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah,
without getting too boastful, I don't like doing that because everybody works hard.
I mean, here's the deal. Absolutely.
It's a challenge to have a gallery.
But it's good to put it out there that there is such a place. That really is important.
And there's some others.
It's important for the community. It's important for artists such as yourself. Now, I also want to mention again that if folks want to find you, that you do have a studio that is accessible. And if they will Google Dal Henderson, Fresno, they'll come up with information. They'll be able to contact you and find you and come to your studio and maybe see you work a little bit. And you wanted to add something too.
People really should make an opportunity to either come to Art Hop or come to the artist receptions or visit the studios to make the connection with the artist, to be able to not just look at the images they've created, but talk to them about what went behind it.
Is there a reception?
We had the reception.
We had one.
And then Art Hop will be the next one.
Okay. Yeah. But you'll be there.
I'll be there.
On Thursday, June the 6th, 5 to 8. You'll be there.
You can really become invested in the artist and the work by having a conversation.
Yes.
They have so much to say.
Yes, just like this evening, I appreciate very much that you're both here and that we learn from that. In addition to being able to appreciate looking at, it's really nice to be able to talk and ask questions. And so you'll be there, and you're there too. You also answer questions and talk about the art that's in the gallery. Well, I want to tell you that it's really been a pleasure to have both of you here. I want to thank both of you. I want to thank you for having that gallery and having the hours. I want to thank you for being here and staying here and sharing your art with us because it is important. The art scene is building, and you two are very, very much a part of that. So thank you so much for...
Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. Thanks so much. Thank you. And now let's take a look at the list, a selection of things to do during the month of June that Donald has compiled. Good Company Players opens the play, The Savannah Sipping Society, Here's a description drawn together by the impromptu happy hour. 4 Southern women share adventure, laughter, and loss as their accidental meeting blossoms into friendship. It opens June 21st. And the Blossom Trail Players and Singers celebrates its 5th season with a production of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. That opens on June 20. Well, that wraps it up for this month's episode of the Munro Review. I'm Jackie Ryle. Be sure to keep up online at munroreview.com for previews, reviews, giveaways, profiles, and more. A big thank you to our volunteer crew, and thank you to our guests, Dal Henderson and Bruce Kalkowski. And for all of you, please keep exploring and supporting the local art scene. We'll see you next time. Good evening.